Imagine this to yourself. You're calling a company. The receptionist answers and you ask, "Can I place an order?" The receptionist says, "Sure." Then gets into a forklift, drives to the warehouse, loads up the truck, processes the invoice, approves the budget, and negotiates a contract. Sounds pretty ridiculous, right? Congratulations, that's exactly what many beginner applications look like. Today we are talking about controllers, or as I like to call them, the receptionists of your application. Last episode we learned something important. Stop making Bob do everything! Remember Bob? The poor employee who was a receptionist, warehouse worker, management, administration, and probably even a janitor too? We fixed that by creating departments. Today we're meeting the first department, which is called the receptionist. Now a customer walks into the company. Who do you think they see first? Exactly, the receptionist. Not management, not the warehouse, not accounting, the reception. The receptionist listens, figures out what the customer wants, and then sends the request to the correct department. That's it. That's literally their job. Now when beginners start to code, they often create a controller that does everything. Controller loads the data. Controller saves the data. Controller validates the data. It sends emails, calculates business logic, talks to the database, and it makes coffee. Controllers negotiate peace treaties, and it even solves world hunger at some point. And before you even know it, your controller becomes Bob 2.0. And we already established Bob was suffering.
Back in my day, controllers were 4,000 lines long.
Why was that, Gramps?
Because every time we needed a feature, we shoved it into the controller.
And did it work?
Well, let's just say we had more luck killing a fly by pissing on them.
Then why did you do it like that?
Because, Atomic, we were young and stupid.
Now a controller has basically three jobs. Receive a request, send a request to the correct place, and return with a response. That's it. Seriously, that's basically the whole job. Think of a receptionist. The customer walks in. "I like to place an order." Receptionist, certainly. Receptionist doesn't run into the warehouse. Receptionist doesn't build the product. And receptionist doesn't drive the delivery truck. The receptionist sends that request to the correct department. Now imagine this. User clicks create customer. The request reaches the controller. The controller basically says, "Hey, somebody wants to create a customer." Then forwards the request. Later it receives a result and returns it to the user. The controller is the middleman, not the worker. So imagine 6 months later. Something breaks. If your controller only acts as a receptionist, it's pretty easy. You know the controller probably isn't doing much. If your controller does everything, good luck finding it. You're searching through 3,000 lines of chaos and you eventually find the bug, maybe. They're crying a little bit. So whenever you're coding something, ask yourself this. Would a receptionist do this? If the answer is yes, it's probably fine. If the answer is no, this sounds like a warehouse worker's job, then maybe it shouldn't live inside of the controller. It's literally that simple. Controllers are not managers. Controllers are not warehouse workers. And they are definitely not databases. Controllers are receptionists. They receive requests, forward requests, and return with a response. That's their job, and honestly, that's already enough work for one person. Now that we have met the receptionist, it's time to meet the next department, our service, which I like to call the foreman. The guy who actually decides what should happen. Because if the controller is our receptionist, the service is the person yelling, "Alright everyone, let's get to work." Alright, stay awesome, stay coding. And just because something has a scary name again, doesn't mean it's actually complicated. See you in episode 3.